Do you want to know how to talk to parents about their child's hygiene? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all over the world about parenting, good communication, how to build strong family bonds, child development, and education. And in this video, we are talking about that sensitive topic of hygiene. In this video, we're going to talk about when you might need to talk to a parent about a hygiene matter with their child and how to approach that. I have personal experience with it, and I'm going to share my story. When I teach parenting classes, I always get to this conversation where I say, we don't want to overload our children with criticism. We don't want to unload unnecessary criticism on the children, but there is a time when the child does need to learn how to accept criticism. Otherwise, they will become fragile. In fact, there are 4 basic skills that I teach, and one of them is the skill for how to accept no answers and accepting criticism. That's skill number 2 for those 4 basic skills. It's a vital adult skill for life. So I say to them, think about it. There's a time when your child needs to be told, so you have moss growing on your teeth and you need to handle that. Let's work on how to learn how to floss or brushing our teeth more. And that's going to be an instruction. You have to do that. Or sometimes you might say to your child, there is this thing, it's an invention, it's called deodorant, and you are at an age where you get to learn how to use that now, right? Or you might talk to them about bathing or, their toilet procedures and all kinds of stuff like that you might have to talk about, or maybe even just their acne. That's a hygiene problem. Combing their hair, getting dressed and dressing appropriately. These are all going to be things related to their hygiene. And sometimes we have to give them that criticism so that they can see a problem and improve. If we never tell them, how would they ever know there's a problem? They would assume that everything is just fine. So there was a time where I was leading a youth educational co-op in my area, and there were multiple children that were there, and there was one boy who started coming new to the group. The first time he came, I noticed that he had an odor. And I thought, well, maybe it's a bad day. Maybe he didn't get a chance to shower before he came. Who knows? Maybe something's going on with this person. And so I decided not to say anything, because I think sometimes that's a polite thing to do, especially if it's the first time, right? But then the next time he had an odor, and I noticed the children that were there were not wanting to sit by him. They were keeping a distance. He wasn't probably having a really great social experience, and I started to be concerned about this young boy, especially as the teacher of the group. And so after it happened a third time, I thought, nope, this is a chronic problem, I think, and so I'm going to have a conversation with his parents. So at that point, I had a conversation with the parents, and I said, I know you've got 10 children, there's lots of things that are going on, and probably, you're trying to teach your children how to take care of themselves and take responsibility for themselves. And at his age, he's like 14 years old. He is probably old enough to do that. And I know, because I'm teaching my children the same lessons, and it's sometimes a headache, right? To put all of those things like the hygiene up to him. But I have noticed that he does have a smell when he's coming to class, and that the students are treating him differently. And I just really don't want him to have any social problems or have people saying mean things about him. And so can you talk with him about that? Can you maybe come up with a plan where he, makes sure that he's clean before class? The mother said, absolutely. She apologized. She said, I know. And I've told him he needs to do better with his hygiene, and I thought I'd let him just kind of suffer the consequences, because I knew people wouldn't want to be with him. And I thought, well, okay, at least she's trying to teach him some sort of cause and effect, right? After that occurred, it improved a little bit, but then it kind of got bad again. And I think she might have just been saying at home, hey, did you check your hygiene? Because we got to go to co-op. And maybe he was just saying yes. And she just had to go with that because she didn't want to correct him in any way. And so there came a point where I actually had to pull the boy aside and say, hey, there's something that I need to talk to you about that I think could really help you maybe make more friends. And he was like, okay. And then I said, I know that life gets busy and we're running so fast when we have to come to co-op and stuff like that, but maybe you're not getting cleaned up before you come, and maybe you could work on that because there's a smell. And I've noticed a lot of the other youth aren't wanting to sit by you very close, and I just don't want that to be a regular thing for you. And he looked at me, and because I told him that, and I told him the consequence of this behavior, he was like, oh, okay. And then when he came the next time, he had wet hair. And every single time after that he came, he had wet hair and he didn't smell anymore. And it's because I actually told him why, and maybe the mom didn't know that. So when you have a conversation with a parent about something like hygiene, I would highly recommend being calm, being understanding, try to seek to understand where they're coming from, what they might be dealing with, maybe even just assuming the best, give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they're trying to teach their child, the hard knocks way, or they're trying not to micromanage their child on that one issue, and they're giving that to him as a stewardship, to handle. They're not really discussing it a ton with the child, but they're trying. So, maybe keep that in mind, but then bring up maybe some suggestions. You could even say, maybe if you just told him why it could be a good idea, and that the teacher has noticed that a lot of the other students aren't wanting to sit by him, maybe he'll be able to see the cause and effect and make the change. Maybe even you could just suggest that you make a plan with him. I would probably suggest to my parent that I'm talking to that they have a parent counseling session with their child, which is one of the 5 teaching styles that we teach here at Teaching Self-Government, which helps them be able to create a plan with the child's input. So the child says, well, I think I could probably solve that problem by doing this. And maybe if I had this type of a negative consequence or this type of a positive consequence to work toward, then I would, pay more attention to it. Or maybe if I put it on my daily checkoff list, I would pay more attention to it. So that child actually comes up with a formula for how they can be part of the solution instead of just feeling like somebody is attacking them for their hygiene issue. I would suggest to my parents to have that type of a conversation with their child so that then they're also not attacking their child, because maybe they don't know how to approach their child without having it turn into a power struggle as well. Which honestly brings me to the whole purpose of this channel. The whole purpose of this channel is to have good conversations that are healthy, that solve problems, but that are calm. And it starts with the person being self-governed over themselves. Before you can help your child self-govern their hygiene, you need to be self-governing yourself. And there's a way that I can help you do that. In fact, I have a video here on this channel that I highly recommend you watch next. It's a mini class about self-government. It's not the whole program, but it will help you start off on your self-government journey. The class is called The Not So Known Secret for Parenting Success. So if you click on the link to that next, then hopefully you can help refer that to your parents, help them understand how to have conversations with their children a little bit more effectively, and set boundaries for them and how to follow through with good corrections when needed. So hopefully self-government can be a help for you as you're trying to help other parents too.